one thing all of our friends have developed over the years is a good set of patience. So we do appreciate drawing on your patience again. I said today what I want to try and do is connect the dots between what we do, the groundwork, the riding, and some of the other disciplines, and why it's important to do what we're doing. So with that in mind, I'm going to step off here. We're going to do what we call a lead by exercise. We're going to assess his feet. Now, I already took him out and warmed him up a little bit, and the reason I did is he came out sort of spitting fire, spitting nails today, and I knew if I didn't, I could probably get him rode, but I'd be so busy riding I couldn't really talk or do anything. So I got him warmed up, dialed him in a little bit. It took a little bit extra. Again, he's had quite a bit of time off, but you see he's sitting here yawning, so we like that. So we're going to step in here and just send him for a little trip. I'd like him to be forward off my leading hand. Let's see if we can get a trot here. I have to drive him a little bit to get it done, so he's not as soft as I would like. Now, when my back's to the camera here, we're going to change directions. I'm going to untrack the left hind. Here's my ask. There's my release. That's a C or C+. The release is the critical piece, as we've talked about every week. Horses learn from the release of pressure. They don't learn from the application of pressure, but from the release. Okay, now, right hind on the ground. This one's been real sticky. That's above average. That's a half letter grade better than we've had. That I'm thrilled is sticking. There's been a little bit of a pattern of it getting better. So the left hind is freed up. The left front is freed up. The right hind is freed up, and the right front. I'll talk a little bit more what Tony was asking about here a little bit. When we start in, take a little trip here. There's a sequence of events that seems to make it the most productive to break some of these braces down. And the sequence is I'll untrack the hind. There's my hind. Rock his weight back. Now get his left front to reach out there towards that barrel. There's our reach. Could be a little more energetic, but he was on the right line. Now, untrack the right hind. There's the right hind. That sets my front end up to be functional. There's my right front. That's actually improved. So that's the classic way of assessing or testing a horse. If I see one of those quarters or all four of those quarters not working, I'm going to work on it. With him, it won't take too long. On a horse that's really braced up or hasn't been around this stuff, it might take a little more time, a first day or two. But I'll take as much time as it needs.
Can you revisit Melanie Smith-Taylor?
Sure.
Nobody can hear you.
Sure. So we were talking about how it started when I was talking about Devlin. Devlin and I have been doing this together. I've known her for a long time. Devlin was working in Southern California. He was working a lot of English horses. I remember when I first met her. And she immediately saw the value in what we were doing and how it applied. And then I mentioned Melanie Smith-Taylor, a friend of ours who lives west of us here, 100 miles or so in Germantown, Tennessee. Melanie, well, she's got a gold medal hanging around her neck, so that works pretty good for me. But early on, she saw the value, she saw the connection. She was able to see the dots between the groundwork and the flat work that we do and how it would apply or enhance the flat work she's already got going. She was a tremendous hand for any of us ever met her. But she took pieces from Ray Hunt. She took pieces from Buck. She spent a lot of time around Ray and Buck and picked up a lot of really good details. And she just took what she had and added to it. And it made her a better hand. And her horses just started to go softer and easier. I saw them just in a little time. Those early years, I saw her horses progress in her barn. So it was pretty cool to see. So there's a handful of people that really get this. Our friend Susan Hopkins in North Carolina. Susan's one of the best hands I get to ride with and rides a lot of really good dressage horses and rides them really well. And she rides some pretty touchy ones, but you'd never know it because they look like they're just gentle and soft and going well. She early on, 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, connected the dots and saw what we were doing. It fit. So the classic English type riders, hunters, jumpers, she connected the dots early on.
She's an FEI?
Oh yeah, she's a dressage rider and trainer, rides all levels of horses. She has a nasty habit of making a horse look really good and really balanced really quick. And I love what every time I go to a clinic at her place, I love just watching her ride because I learn a lot from her. And she definitely has put this. She had a very, very good, very formal, very good education, but she spent a lot of time around a lot of my contemporaries, and she's put those pieces to her work, and it shows in her horses. And like I said, she has a nasty habit of making some pretty tough horses look really gentle and soft. And so they go well for her because she's attentive to detail and she's a good student of the horse. So that's what we want to talk a little bit about is connecting some of these dots and how it works. So first of all, a horse that can untrack his hindquarters, equal and soft on both sides. I'll wait for that right hind to step through a little cleaner. This has been his sticky side. There it goes. A horse that can untrack their hindquarters is a little bit more likely to be calm, to be relaxed, to be at ease. And I don't care what discipline you are, one thing we all want is we want our horses to perform at a very high level, and we want them to be calm. And so one of the foundation pieces we've been talking about is how well do your horses untrack? He's untracking, he's functional. I wouldn't brag. I wouldn't do let me show you how to do a really good untracked video on this horse, because he's a work in progress. This is the stuff that was stolen from him early on. So untracking the hindquarters is a really important part of the foundation. The next part that we talk about is the reach. So I'm going to rock him back. I'm going to take his black foot, his right front, and I'm going to move it out and back right there. Okay? We'll do the same thing with his left front. For you guys that like color-coded, he's white. Drive on his eye, out, and there's my reach. Okay? Now let's start connecting a few dots. A horse that can untrack on one side and can untrack on the other, I have the pieces to start to build in collection. So if I want a horse, I tell him I'm working on my upper level collection at its most fundamental state. A horse that will untrack will be more likely to engage, and you can get your elements of collection. A horse that can reach, again, the reach is going to help him calm down, but in addition to it, a good reach, that's a bending line on a jump. So you have a horse that's on a jump course, and you've got a 4.5 stride line to a jump. If you can't influence those shoulders, if you're 6 inches off that line, you've added an entire 3/4 or maybe even a stride by the time you get there. So you might not ride the way you walked it or the way you saw it, which means a lot of chaos. You want to be able to kind of plan those things out. So I have a horse that can rock back and reach. It's a horse I can control his shoulders. It's a horse I can find my bending lines on. Well, it's pretty obvious that that's a horse I can turn on a cow. And so the cow horse people, we don't ever have too much trouble talking about these points. Yeah, so a horse that can rock back and reach is a horse that I'm beginning, and I'll do it today. I'm going to work on his canter pirouette today in its most fundamental shape. But I'm starting to work on canter pirouette. But if I can get a horse, a lot of it is to change the balance and stay soft and move those feet. That's what it takes to polish it to an upper level piece. Okay? A horse that can untrack is a horse with the hindquarters, is a horse I'm going to be able to do a leg yield or a shoulder in much more fluidly on. And we all know with the lateral work, leg yields and shoulder ends, how a fundamental part of our foundation those are for the upper levels. Other things that we might talk about. Horses that have an ability to untrack the hindquarters and reach the front quarters are going to bend in a symmetrical fashion. So it's going to be much easier to put their energy on a line. Horses that don't do well on one of those quarters, a lot of times you'll see they bend asymmetrically. They'll bend more in the neck and less in the ribs. Those are horses that are going to tend to blow out through the ribs. They're going to be horses like him. If you let him get like that, the next thing he's going to do is he's going to jump 5 feet sideways on you. Because as soon as he gets crooked, he starts building, creating monsters. And he's kind of looking for monsters all the time anyhow. But if you let him get crooked, he can find one really quick. So his well-being, his function, but also some of the upper level moves. Let me think of some other things that we would talk about. We'd have a horse that we can back and back around an arc. I'll get him backing up here. I'm going to tip his nose left and let his hips go right. There's backing. There's a little bit of softness. He's not breaking any records today. Okay, that's the arc right there that correlates to a right lead. All right, we're going to do it again. Back, tip his nose to me, send his hindquarters away. So you want a horse to start changing leads. You want to make sure you can control those shoulders and those hips. Now I'm going to work on the left lead. Okay, rock back, tip his nose to me, let his hips go away. He's pretty focused on something there. There, I got to his feet, and I got to his mind. Now here's an interesting opportunity right here. He's too focused, so I'm just going to walk off here and just sort of randomly take a hold of him. I want him to be a little more cognizant of where I am and what I'm doing. Who knows what's moving over there? And we talk about horses when they're moving their feet and their frame of mind. When we, what's moving? The devil's? Yeah, the devil's probably moving over there. He's wears a black and white hide. He's got some horns on him. When we start talking about these steps and these moves, we're going to talk about function. Okay, I'm going to get his hips to step to the right and his shoulders to reach a little left, and that's going to make a perfect arc. Okay, but I'm also talking about his frame of mind, and you can't talk about these exercises without talking about frame of mind. So I can make him go over there, but it's another thing to set him up and let him find it and let him flow. So there I'm going to find a way to get him back. He was getting ready to push. Now I'm going to do an arc the other direction. There we go. And I got a little bit of top line softness there. Okay, here's some other pieces. Here's an interesting thing. And this is good for him because we'll keep him busy here. I'm going to step up here, a horse that can untrack, and I don't mind him untracking, but I don't want him pushing on me. Now I'm going to untrack in the other direction. Right hind, come on, there we go. Don't crowd me. You see my hand come up and protect my space. Okay, here's an interesting fact. When you're riding and you have the ability to untrack your left hind, okay, then I have the ability to go forward, and I'll do this. I'll do a couple of these for you today. I have the ability to do it and engage that hind quarter, okay? There's a connection between engagement of the hind quarters and softness. So you can also say, I'm working on my fundamental steps of collection through engagement. By untracking my hindquarters, I'm working on my engagement. I know that seems like a contradiction if you've never heard it that way before, but that's part of what we do, is try to help you understand how these points fit together and then help you get through some of the fog of understanding these nuances. It's the first time you ever hear somebody say that I can get my horse to untrack better, they'll collect better. Yeah, it does make sense. But once you understand the biomechanics, once you understand how the horse's frame of mind works, what it takes to get him soft, and you start to see 3, 5, 10,000 horses, and they all do the same thing, they all respond the same way, then you start to see the value in these things. So untracking the hindquarter relates to picking up your leads. Untracking the hindquarters relates to engagement and thoroughness and upper levels of collection. It also has to do with the top line and the softness. Reaching has to do with shoulder control, bending lines, and being able to direct energy down lines. So there's a kind of a summary right there. Okay, what do we got?
Tony would like to know, how soft of a feel are the arcs?
On him? Yeah, that's a great question, Tony. How soft? He wants to know how soft the arc is. There I've got about 5 pounds on my hand. I'll just count it out here. Now his neck dropped down. Now there's 8 pounds. There's 20 pounds. 0, but no softness. There he went to 0. So his feet flowed, and there was literally 0 pressure on that halter. Okay? The other way, and I can do it from either side, doesn't matter where I'm at. I don't want his neck down now. There's about 2 pounds, 1 pound. I'm going to tip his nose, let his hips come to the right. There's his feet, but he's not correct on the top line. And there I got to 0. So the range there was probably 3 pounds down to my always absolute 0 at the end. It's always 0 at the end, always. Okay? The ideals that I would work within, right there is pretty soft, 2 ounces. A 4-ounce pull would seem extreme to my horse. That's ideal to me. Yep. Where like when we're picking up a soft feel on him, and there were some videos in the past, Tony, I don't know if you got a chance to see them, but there's times when I was stopping him, I was riding him on the video, and there was literally 80 pounds in my hands. So, you know, we were 79 pounds, 14 ounces away from soft. So there's a lot of that. There's also a couple different ways. While I got Tony on the phone here, or on the horn, I'm going to do my lead by one more time. I'm going to get that hind quarter. Now that's softer. Front quarter, there's my reach shaping up. I need him back a little bit more. Wait for my reach. There it is. Okay? That's one way I can do that reach, Tony. You'll notice here, I'm backing with my right hand, driving with either my left or my right. When they're stuck, as in this horse I know you have, I'm going to reverse my hands. Okay? I'm going to go to where I have the rope in my left hand, the tail in the crook of the right arm. Okay? Here's my hand. Now I'm going to step to the shoulder, and I'm going to float him back, bump him if he doesn't float, and I'm going to drive on the eye. I'm going to get my reach, my crossover. There it is. Rock back, and get another reach. So there's two ways right there, and there was 60 pounds when he was pushing through that. There's two ways right there I can move the front quarters to give him some variety and get to it different ways. That's more like it. That was 6 ounces, 4 ounces, something like that. That's starting to feel better. Every once in a while, it's starting to carry a little bit with him.
Linda Harrell says hi.
Hi, Linda.
Steve Hadley.
Steve Hadley's on again. Good.
Karen Eckhoff. She's only here for Poppy.
Yeah, Karen's just here to see Poppy. I'm just a vehicle for her to be able to spend time with Poppy. That's all.
And, Mari Edmond.
Hey, Mari. Yep. Good to have her back.
Jan.
Good. Jan Meisner? Good. Hi, Jan. You must have got done with your meeting. So connecting the dots, okay? The more a horse moves those four quarters, the more likely they're going to be relaxed. The more you're going to have a frame of mind that can learn new things, okay? When it comes to learning new things, if they got a lot of chaos or a lot of tension in their body, they don't retain information. You'll hear me say over and over again, tight horses do not retain information. So you feel like you're doing your lessons over. Whenever he's tight, we're pretty much going to maybe be lucky to get back to square one on him. So, all right.
Do you have any advice to work through the hop in the front end?
Yeah. So anytime a horse is hopping in the front end, it's because they don't have their body prepared to go. I think there was one time when I was working him today, I can't remember if the camera was on or off, but he did a bit of a hop. He used to do a lot worse of this. You can look back at some of the beginning videos just in this series, just 20 rides ago, and he's a lot worse. But a hop means that they have their body malconfigured. They're not configured in order for the reach, and they're trying to work around a body that's basically their legs are in their own way. So I have a horse that if he gets back, I get a big reach, then the hop starts to go away. So there's a high correlation between a horse that reaches well and them not going up in front. And that's going to be square one after you get the hindquarters freed up on that horse, Tony.
Talk about softness and happiness.
Yeah. Our friend Chris was talking about, we do this so many different ways over the years. You keep presenting things in different ways. Sometimes it's a little like spaghetti sticking on the wall. Once in a while it sticks for somebody. And something that stuck for my good friend Chris was when she talked about, or when we were talking about one time, what I call the happiness contract. And that is when I walk into the presence of a horse, I've signed a contract. I'm going to do everything I can to make them feel at ease and to be able to do their job well. And the other part of the contract is then they're going to work for me, and they're going to be safe, and they're going to be fun to have, and we're going to have a great relationship. But I literally look at it as if we both signed a contract. And the leading party is me. We talked a little bit about that on a video, kind of an accountability video at one of the shorts this week. And but it's my job to make sure that this horse feels happy. And if he's not happy, it's my job. These braces that he has, I didn't put these in here. Okay? I didn't build these problems in Dempsey, but they're mine to fix. Okay? I don't care if you bought it or found it running down the road or stole it from your neighbor. It's yours. It's yours to fix. So you have a responsibility to make sure that that's correct. So what else? Anything else before we change gears here?
Tracy Rodiger.
Hi, Trace.
So Jeter hyperflexes and sticks
Yep.
his chin on his chest.
Yep.
I get loads of pressure on my hand before I get a sluggish step back. I want to spare his mouth. What should I try? I was thinking of backing arcs in the halter. Make it really good on the ground first.
Yes.
Maybe the neck rope.
So here's a horse, and I know this horse. I've seen him before. He's a little inclined to be, not a little inclined. He's a lot inclined. He's one of those real sensitive horses that wants to almost be buried. He was born to bury his hands or his head get behind the vertical, and get behind the bridle or behind the bit, what they call it sometimes. He's very sensitive, and he's inclined to go there. He's one that I would say was built to be destroyed. There's more chances of destroying him because of his sensitivity than there is of having him be successful. Therefore, I'm very thankful that Tracy has him because she's capable of doing this. Anytime a horse buries their head behind the vertical, it has something to do with the way they're using their hind feet or where the reward has been. I've seen horses really use their hind legs, but because they've been ridden in a draw rein, all they know is burying their chin to their chest. So anything you can do to create the throughness of the inside hind. So I would do, Tracy, I would do lots of back and arcs, lots of back and quarter circles. I would do them both with a snaffle bit and a neck rope because you want him flowing off those so you're not always just on his mouth. I would do enough turns on the forehand to keep him really simple. I'd make sure I could do a turn on the forehand with no reins. I'd back, like I said, a jillion quarter circles. I would do a lot of circle drifts where I'm drifting the hindquarters off the circle. These are exercises Tracy and I have done, so she kind of knows my nomenclature. I would do shoulder in on a circle, and I would do a lot of Cindy Cook turns. Our friend Cindy Cook, we named him after her and a red mare she was riding. Those are all hindquarter exercises to get the hindquarter stepping through and soft. My shoulder in, I'd be relentless on shoulder in, and I would eventually get to where I can start to do my leg yields. I can work in the beginning as a half pass. He's a big, athletic, big moving horse, so it's going to take a while to develop the body to do that. But the mind needs it now. The hindquarters need to catch up. So, and you're hand enough. You can ride him ride him every day for 5 minutes in the neck rope and get him back in quarter circles. That'll do a lot of good too.
So you said that just backing off the halter knot has gotten a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But in the snaffle, I'm assuming that she's backing him straight in the snaffle.
Yes. Yeah, she's probably backing him straight. She's probably starting to back some arcs, but he's a little behind, have to go behind the vertical either way. So one thing, and you'll see me do this on this horse, though he's not real bad about burying his nose, he's more apt to pull on me. But one thing you'll see me do, and this goes for all you guys, is when he's backing, I want his neck at a particular height. I want his pole above his withers, but there's a thing I call the sweet spot, and generally it's about 4 or 5 inches higher than you think it should be. Right there's his sweet spot. That's where I'm more apt. You'll see me pick his neck up, there. And he throws his neck down a lot because that's what he's been trained to do, probably ridden in some of those gimmicks we talked about. But I want to make sure that I have up enough in that neck to really get to the feet. So find that sweet spot. Jeter's got a pretty good neck and a pretty upright build, so it might be a little higher than you think. Okay, and you'll see me when I'm riding, once in a while you'll see me pick his neck up with one rein. And if I do it, I'll try to mention it. Sometimes it happens pretty quickly, but I'll try to mention it. Lots of soft feels at a trot. Make sure he's getting really good at a soft feel and that he's forward. Don't let him die in the trot. Don't even lose 2% of your energy going forward. When you pick up a soft feel, I want no net loss of energy. So sometimes those horses, they kind of suck back and then they get behind the vertical. What else? Lots of other stuff. Okay, so again, we're trying to connect the dots today. Every discussion, every clinic, every time we do it, it sort of takes on a life of its own. But These are all really good. These are all really relevant questions. Another good sign, I probably shouldn't say it now because I probably jinx myself, but he hasn't tried to bite me in a couple of weeks. And he's been much more amenable to putting the bridle on. Softer. There he goes. That's been long. That's just because I mentioned it. He hasn't tried to do that for 10 bridlings. So that's probably more about his frame of mind. He did that a lot the first day, and he did it a lot poorly the first day. If he wasn't chewing on me, he was chewing on the edge of the bit, or he was chewing on the slaughter straps or something. So that's also a pretty good indicator of where he is.
But he's not bad.
No, he's not bad. He's not wrong. He's just frustrated. I get him. You know, God, I get a good piece of gear in their mouth chewing it up and it just drives you nuts. But the point of it is you need to fix that before it happens. For me, it's all about the frame of mind. And when he's sharp, he quits biting. The other thing, he's still tempting to go out there. We're getting more and more grass between here and his pen. They're getting more grass, but he's a little less adamant about trying to go dive through the grass. The first few trips out here this spring, when Don and I brought him out, he thought nothing of taking 60 pounds and pushing down through that halter to get to the grass. So that's much better. So you're seeing the little changes. For me, the big change is the right hind. It's actually holding here a little bit today. Soft feels starting to make some progress a little bit. He's not consistently soft, but he's starting to get soft. Still takes a lot of fixing to the right. The people that know me know what I'm talking about there. Okay, connecting dots. Let me jump on here real quick. Sure. Anybody that's worked with me has spent some time getting their horses bumping up to the fence. There's a couple of reasons. One, it makes him a lot easier to get on. He's 16.3, and I kind of been nursing a hip injury this winter, so I've been getting on everything on him. I haven't gotten on him from the ground all winter. The other thing is it builds some patience in him. So I want him to put all 4 feet in the box, see if he can find a place to get there. And it's pretty square, pretty good. And I want him to be patient and wait for me to get on. I don't want to be in any big hurry. When I used to watch Bill Dorrance get on, it was just excruciating watching him get on. And it took so long. He was pretty busted up, and he was 80 years old, or near 80 years old when I met him. But his horses were flawless at the mounting block. And so that was pretty cool. All right, like with all things, maybe I'll just take a bend out here. See if I can get a little bend without him moving his feet. We know the devil himself over here. So I'm going to ride a line that I can ride successfully on Dempsey and have him attentive. Now, I'm not thrilled about his. I just start immediately kind of assessing my horse. He left. He's pretty sluggish. There's my right hind stepping through. He's about 3 or 4 pounds on my hand there. So not as soft as he could be. He's sluggish leaving. You'll see me working on him. I'm not making a big deal out of him leaving right now. Now, we're going to stop on one rein. I got to establish control here. Left leg's on. There's my left hind. I like that. I'll wait for the give here. All right, so I'm working on my, if I can untrack, I can engage. Okay? Kind of like that movie, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. So, if you can untrack your horse, you can engage your horse. So, I'm going to bring him in here and walk him right straight away from the camera. We'll see what side, where he's now he's pushing through this rib. So I'm going to watch his left hind. There's a better step. Get that foot to step up. That's the step I need. That's the step that sets me up to eventually get some collection. Right now, we're just engaging, and I'm pretty much just engaging off my seat and leg. I did use a little left rein there. I'll do it again. I'll walk straight away. There he's pushing through the left rib. I got my left leg on him. Come on. Come on. There's the left hind. Stepped up and almost started to swing and untrack. You see a lot of left leg on him. He's not real soft and not real responsive. The people that know me know that I'm going to my seat first, and I'm going to my leg, and my rein is my last resort. All right, let's pick up a soft feel and see if we got anything here to work with. There's about 2 or 3 pounds on my hands. That's better than average. That neck isn't bad. He's trying not to drive his neck down, so we talk about the height of the neck. So Tracy, if I'm going now, watch right there. I'm going to pick his neck up. There's the top line. When I talk about a soft feel, remember I define a soft feel as the ability to flex the pole and influence the feet. If their neck is too low, it's hard to get to their back. There's a perfect spot to get to their neck, and that depends on their conformation. Okay? There's some thought. That time I took the slack out of the reins and he started to get prepared to back up. That's the way I like my horses. If I'm here for 10 seconds or 10 minutes, when I pick up on my reins, I want his body to start to get prepared. There's a little delay there, and there's my soft feel. Okay? That will eventually become collection. Okay? Right now it's just a soft feel, but eventually there's my collected elements. Now I can start to do, leg yield in collection. I can start to do shoulder in collection. I can start to do higher level collected things. So connecting the dots, that's the soft feel and how it relates to some of the upper level stuff. I've talked on this a bit, but I just don't know if I can talk on it enough. I can do a gimmick that will make his neck, his head, go to this position right there. I've never found a gimmick that helps him support his mind and makes him feel like it's his idea. It's always getting away. He's always escaping from pressure with those gimmicks. There's a soft feel. There's preparation. I'm going to give him that. Okay? I'm going to let that soak a minute. Good. Good. Connecting the dots. All right? Connecting the dots. My clinics are, I don't know, we all kind of develop our own style. And so mine are a hybrid, like I do in my horsemanship too. I do a lot of leg yield, a lot of shoulders in. I do a lot of those kind of things, some more traditional things. I might come at them a little bit a-traditional, a little bit my own way of getting it done. But our end result will be the same, a horse that's soft and moving from the hind to the front. Okay. Now I'm going to try and back an arc on him. I haven't backed too many arcs on him. I'm going to tip his eye left. I'm going to let his hips find a way to go to the right, set him up to where he finds it. The hips aren't reaching. I'll just wait it out. Wait for that. There's the hip. There he came in balance. Oh, good. Coming from Laura, Laura's going to tell you she's kind of a truth teller, and she's got a really good eye. And if she says she's seeing some changes in him, especially I think I've only ridden him once or twice, Laura, since right before I went up to your guys' country last week. So he's had a little time off, so it's carrying a bit. Now I'm waiting for the arc, and I'm waiting for his hips to step left. There's his front quarters to the right, but I need his hips to the left. We're going to get over here. There it is. And he might start looking for the devil right there, but he did really good. We talk a lot about backing these arcs. You'll hear us, yeah, I like that. I like that. That was some softness. See, he was thinking soft. This is the first time, the last 3 or 4 rides are the first time he started to do a little thinking. So rather than just try to go, he has a Rolodex of things he can do to get out of work. And most of them are negative. And for the first time, he's kind of looked up, picked his eyes up from the Rolodex and said, "You got any good ideas, Greg?" And my answer is, when he asks that, pretty broken rhythm in the feet there, there's my reach. There's my hindquarters going there, my front quarters reaching. My answer to whenever they pick up their eyes up from their Rolodex trick or look out of their bags of tricks and ask me if I got anything, When they say, do I got any good ideas? My answer is, I thought you'd never ask. I'm so thrilled that you would ask because I got a lot of really good ideas. But I need you to be interested in them before I can't make him do them. There he's escaping and hustling back. There's my softness. This is the most quarter circles I've done on him probably ever. Let me get this on. I'll give him that. Yes, question on there. What do we got?
Tracy said she thinks the basic feeder's neck has been too low.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that was something I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, and that's where I would actually work getting back in quarter circles in the neck rope, because there's nothing magical about a neck rope. Like Tracy and I've done this a jillion times. The thing about a neck rope is it makes you tighten up your timing. Because if your timing isn't tight, if your timing isn't right on, the horses, you're going to pick up on that little neck rope and they're going to laugh at you. Because it's the same place a workhorse would pull from in the fields. If you're pulling in a sled full of hay, they'd pull from that same spot. So you can't overpower them there. You can only out finesse them there. So that's where I would probably do a lot of backing and a lot of backing arcs in a quarter circle, Tracy. That'd be a really good idea. And I'm looking for him to start to come up in the wither. It's a little early on Dempsey to do that, but every once in a while I'll just get the beginning of it. I'll see if I can come up with anything. There's I'm lifting the neck. Lifting the neck. There. He's starting to think about coming up a little in his back. And that's where the neck has to be in the right position, because if the neck is in the right position, it allows the back to float. And if the back can float, it can move. But if the neck's too high or the neck's too low, it locks the back. Okay? How else are we doing? I'll just take his head around here. No ask. Just ask him to give. There's a little softness. Probably the most it got there was 6 or 8 ounces. There's 5 or 6 ounces.
And what's the correlation of the tipping of the ear?
Okay. A horse, the correlation of the tipping of the ear. A horse that does not untrack well, is not freed up through their thoracics, will take their head around and drop their ear down. That's almost a surefire way you got to brace in that corresponding hind quarter. A horse that's freed up behind will come around more with their ears level and correct, and they'll use their head completely differently. So it's just a raging red flag that you got to brace in the hind quarters for me. It can be a neck problem too. It can be something your chiropractor have to work on, or arthritis. You'll know because in 4 or 5 days you free up the feet, and all of a sudden the neck's better. But if you free up the feet and the neck's not any better, you probably ought to call your vet, chiropractor. How are we doing for time, hon?
It's 10 after 6.
10 after 6. What was our quarter after was our bingo time here. Okay. The assistant producer's in the seat watching, scanning things. So now I'm going to draw his mind to the right. That's good. That's better than it's been. That was a great opportunity to do something with my leg and draw his mind. Now I'll bring his mind left, release. There we go. Just a few rides ago, I could have hit him with a tack hammer over here and he wouldn't have moved. So now he's starting to try and build a little finesse. See if we can get him here. He's pretty fixated on the cows. We'll see if he can make it. Release. Release. Ah, there he moved, preparing to step over. We like that. There's some softness. See, Tracy, whoa, kind of bumped into the bit there. Actually sort of surprised himself. And now you'll see me, Tracy, on this horse, and this gets a little deep fast, but more often than not, when his head is down, I'm going to pick up with his right rein, right there. And the reason is because his right diagonal is his short one. So I'm correlating to the poor diagonal right there. Yep. What do we got?
Karen wants to know what are your feet doing when you're looking for the arc?
Ah, good question. So what are my feet doing when I'm backing an arc? Tony wants to know.
Hands and legs doing.
So it depends, okay? It depends on where we are. So a horse like this that's real stuck, I'm going to start to back him up, and then I'm going to drop my left leg back as the eye comes across, my right leg forward. I'm going to scissor my legs, but I'm not going to put them on. I'm simply getting the quarters freed up to go. By dropping my left leg back, I'm allowing the shoulder to reach left, and by bringing my right leg ahead, I'm allowing the hip to reach left. Reach right. I'll do it again. Left leg back, right leg forward. My hands are like bicycle handlebars. I have the same contact, but I tip the eye, and I wait to get to the feet right there. A lot of people in this formative stage right here in the early stages try to move them with their legs. And what I find is they get their arc done, but they don't address the brace. The brace stays there, and they never really get soft. So I get to their feet through the reins initially, and then once my horses are really going good, and I'm pick the neck up, there's my thing. Once my horses are good, then I can use my legs. If I got something roped and I got my hands busy, I might have to step them over with my left leg and tighten the rope. So early on in the formative stages, I simply scissor my legs and get them out of the way, and then I can start to add leg as my horses find really high level function. I hope that's a good way to address that. I see a lot of people put their leg on too soon, and their horses never get out of that rut. There's a change. I like that. Tony, here's another one. I'm going to rock back. Now I'm going to open up the left rein of the leg. I'm going to close the right rein of the leg. I'm going to reach that left front. There we go. I'll do it again. Okay. There's a reaching exercise once you're in the saddle. Of course, Tony, we've done hind quarter, front quarter as a precursor to that. And there's two ways to do that. At least two ways. One is I can simply shift everything and wait for the foot to reach there and release. Or the other one is I can time up the foot with the foot and set it out right there. So one, you're timing up with the foot. That's a little more advanced. Sometimes the hammer is going to lay things there and let him find it and find the release. Both are legitimate. One is a little more foundational, one's a little more refined for the rider.
Barbara LaRosa.
Hey, Barbie.
Barbie, she made a joke about her husband, but we won't go into that.
Well, she promised she'd only be a little bit of a smart ass. And I said, a little smart ass keeps us accountable. So we expect, I'd be worried about her if she wasn't a little bit of a smart aleck. So.
But she actually has a real question.
A real question. No, I will not leave.
As you're riding, you can easily tell which foot is doing what. Are there any exercises to help for people to pick up the feel of the feet at any given time?
Yeah. So in order to do something with a foot, like I'm going to pick the left front up there, I got to feel that that foot is right there getting ready to go. Right there getting ready to go. Okay, right there. Now I'll move it. Okay, I got to know where it is. And so there's a fundamental exercise you can do when you're riding. Knowing when, and this is the way I've taught this for years, people get really intimidated about timing up when the feet, I call the cadence of the feet when the foot leaves the ground. Okay, that's when you can do something with it. That's the important count. And everybody almost universally tells themselves they're incapable of doing something as refined as that. They can't feel the feet. And yet, they can get on it remarkably quick if I sort of trick them a little bit. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have you put your hand out. Make sure you can pet your horse on the rump. They're not too tight about that. Lean back on it and lock your elbow straight. Okay? When that shoulder falls, that's when that foot is getting ready to go. And you can get that fall, you can feel your hip fall, and then pretty quick you can feel that right hind leaving the ground. When I'm walking, I'm counting cadence. If I don't have anything to think about, I'm counting cadence. The other thing is, and this is a nice horse here because he's got a pretty good tricep muscle. He's got fairly good muscling right in here. When that right front is getting ready to go, it's all the way back. Just before it goes all the way back. I can feel that muscle bunch against my calf. And so when I feel the muscle bunch against my calf, I say now, and the right front's moving. When I feel the right hind getting ready to go, my shoulder drops, I count now. So those are my two tricks that will get you to realize that you're really quite capable. Now here's a chance for me to bring his mind back to the ride again. We'll see if we can get him here. Release. Good. Very good. That's above average. That's like a Lake Wobegon moment. So those are my two tricks for doing that. And the other thing is people are way more capable of doing it than they give themselves credit for. I don't know why it intimidates people, but it does. There's my right again. I'm going to see if I can draw this right. I'm using a lot of right leg, but at least he's not going forward. See if we can draw that mind right. And I had to help him. Okay, what else do we got? Connecting the dots.
What is Laura would like to know what a Cindy Cook turn is.
I'll try to do one. I don't know if I can do one on him, but we talk about this a lot, and the goal is to make the tightest turn I can make and keep the hind quarters rhythmic, counting 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm going to go down to a tight turn, do a turn on the forehand, 1, 2, 1, 2, and walk out. If I got any tighter, he would have broken the rhythm. He'd have gone 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I want the rhythm to be like a metronome, okay? Shorten my circle, drop my inside leg back, slow the shoulder, the right shoulder a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and right on. Okay? That's what we call Cindy Cook turns. For me, the ultimate would be I could ride my horse and do a turn on the forehand and ride out and never break the rhythm of the hind feet. Let's try this side and see what he does. I don't know if I've ever tried to do this on him. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and there my rhythm broke. That's the same size circle and the rhythm broke. So it was too small for him. That's not a failure. I just found my limit. Okay, try it again. 1, 2, 1, 2. Turn on the forehand. 1, 2. There's my go, and I got to go. Basically kept my rhythm there. Now we'll pick our soft feel up. There it is, and halt. And how about just a little rock back here? That's Cindy Cook turns. Is basically a walking turn on the forehand. The goal being rhythmic steps with the hind quarter. The tighter the turn, the more supple I find my horses to be. I find it quite challenging to do that really tight. It's fun.
Do you find that beneficial for leg yields or
Shoulder in.
shoulder in?
Really helps my shoulder in. Really helps me when I'm having a horse that's missing a lead. I'll work on that a lot on horses struggling with a particular lead.
I think you could do a reverse, almost like a rondeur, like a punches in on a circle in the same way. You think that's possible?
Yes, it is possible. So she's talking about, all right, I'm going to back, and I'm going to tip the eye to the right and the hips to the left. That's our standard entry level backing a quarter circle. What Donna's talking about is, I can't do it on him, it's way too advanced, but back him on the bend. Okay? There's the first, that's kind of a beginning of that step. All right. That is much higher level. That's like the difference between a leg yield and a half pass. One is very entry level, one is much more refined. Once my horse really flows, backing arcs, and I can back quarters, halves, 3/4, whatever circle, whatever size I want, whatever speed I want. I can go a real slow or a real crisp back up on that. Once they get that, then I'm going to start doing that backing on the circle, because it really helps pick up the shoulders up. I picked that up from some friends of mine, and I've been dabbling with it a little bit, and I find there's some real value there. So, yep. But it's advanced.
Totally different. Change gears.
Okay, change gears.
Steve Adley.
Steve,
Is a turn on a cow a forward or backwards movement?
backwards. Yeah, it's always a backwards movement on a cow. A turn on a cow is always backing. If you go forward, you're going to find that you're going to get beat a lot. That's why reiners don't work cows very well, because they step into their turn forward. You'll find a cutter will rock their weight back and turn. So I always set my turns up for a cow, break into my right. I'm going to tip that hip. I'm going to back into my turn, and then help my horse through that turn right there. But I back into my turn, that seems to keep him balanced. So, and that's a great way to start a fight in the bar. Just go ask somebody that question really loud, like around some reiners. But working on a cow, you always want your horse rocked back. And they'll find those really good kind of horses. They're almost bred to live in that spot. They're amazing. Good cow working horses, rein cow horses. Great question. 20 after, okay. I suppose we ought to think about kind of winding up.
You have any parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. People want to get, they want to get almost tribalized, and they want to be in a camp. I'm a reiner. I'm a cow horse guy. Horses are just horses. I find the beauty of a really good dressage horse really going well, and the beauty of a really good cow horse, rein cow horse, or a working cow horse, I find them exactly the same. The beauty there, it's a different job, but pretty is pretty is pretty. And so what I would encourage you guys is to be open-minded about other disciplines. Don't get hung up. If you want to dress a certain way, that's fine. I got no problem with whatever fashion merit badge you wear. But what I would say is be open-minded. I had a guy one time that I know, I was really disappointed to hear him say this. He's talking about dressage riders, and he said, and he was kind of out of the horsemanship side of things, and he said, I've never seen a dressage rider that had a damn thing to offer a horse or offer one of my horses. And I went, wow, that's a pretty big statement, considering, first of all, you've probably never gone to Europe. There's a lot of riders over there you've never heard of. A lot of riders here you've never heard of. You never saw Susan Hopkins ride. You never saw videos of Nuno Oliveira. You never saw Klaus Balkenhol ride. Or I hate to start even naming names for fear I'm going to leave somebody out. But there's some amazing hands out there and a lot to teach all of us. So I'm open to anything. And I kind of say this, I try not to get too polarizing on some of these things. Really, the only place that I can't get a lot of help from or learn much from are the Western pleasure, because their object is so different than anything I would have. But I would say every discipline has something it could offer me. And I've learned some amazing things from really green riders, stuff that it was so obvious to them that I had missed. And then I've had my mind blown by some of these amazing riders, watching them and bringing some of these points together. So be open-minded to others. Look for the best in everybody. I always say you can learn something from anybody. I might learn something I don't want to do, but I can learn something from them. I was watching a screen video today, and I didn't get too far into it because it got too disgusting. But there's that saying that we've talked about this year, that the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Be really careful who you allow to imprint your brain. Surround yourself with greatness. Surround yourself with people that are achieving high levels, whether it be the guy at the local high school who's going to be the best janitor that it could be, or the guy that's special forces and achieving the pinnacle of the military career, or a rider, or someone that I met a guy a few years ago, and his whole occupation, all he did was build violin bows. And he was, I imagine he was really good at it. That's all he does is build violin bows. And he's got a long waiting list to get him, so obviously he's got some quality to his work. I'd love to go just put a chair in the corner of his shop, and I try not to ask too many questions, but I'd love to watch that guy work. That'd be pretty fascinating. He was out in your area there, Jan Meisner. He was out there in your area somewhere. I ran into him when I was doing those clinics.
You have to say goodbye, Linda.
Bye, Linda. Bye, my friends.
And Stephanie Brinkman.
Hi, Steph.
She finally got on here, and she said that Bob taught her that feel of the back turn on a cow. And she said she's spoiled now. It's hard to ride a horse.
It is.
It doesn't turn as well.
And the other thing is, with Bob, you better be with him, turn with him, or else he'll leave you there. So like,
Can spoil us.
yeah, some horses can really spoil us. And a lot of ones that spoil us are the ones that do us in spite of us. And then we think we've really done something special. The thing I love about Steph is she knows he has phenomenal Bob and all these nicknames. She knows he's special. And she walks out every day and appreciates that horse for what he is, for his good spots. And she appreciates for the things he's working on and learning, and allows her to learn. So that's the kind of attitude. Those are the kind of people I like to surround myself with. You guys, you guys that get on here, you're my core friends. You're my core group here. A lot of you guys are personal, close friends of mine, and you're the kind of people I hang around, and there's a reason for it, because you got active, great minds. So parting shot is surround yourself with greatness, be around the best people you can be around, and try to figure out everything that they're doing that can make your life better. So, and do the same with the horses. So I guess that's it. Adios, you guys. Thanks for a good day. Beautiful day here in Tennessee. Grass is coming. Nice temperature. Life is good. Thanks, guys. See ya.